if you play Elden Ring, you might be aware that Elden Ring Nightreign is coming out in a couple of months, and you might not be sure of what to play in the meantime whilst you wait. Well, that's why I made this video. I wanted to make this video to recommend a bunch of games that I've played. Some of them are similar to Elden Ring, some of them are not similar, just to make sure you have something to play whilst you're waiting and you don't get too bored. Because there's too many games out nowadays, it can be really hard to find something to play because sometimes there's tons of shit on the store. It's not all that good. So, and especially nowadays with recent games, they're not always that good. And so I just wanted to recommend a bunch of games that you might be interested in whilst you wait. So I feel like the most obvious place to start would be more Elden Ring. There's always new builds to create and new game plus runs to do. I mean, it can get a little bit boring or repetitive if you just keep doing new game plus runs, but it might be interesting for you. As I said, there's always new builds to make. Maybe try experimenting with a new build to see if it's any better than your last one that you used, or if it makes the game more fun, because let's be honest, just using Blasphemous Blade the whole time can be a bit boring. There's also the DLC. I kind of like the DLC. I think it was mostly pretty good, and if you really liked Elden Ring, then it's definitely worth playing. So if you haven't played that yet, then you definitely should. The next game on the list is Dark Souls 3. Dark Souls 3 is very similar to Elden Ring. It's basically like Elden Ring if it wasn't an open world game, if it was more of a linear game. And that's probably because it was made by the same people that made Elden Ring, which is From Software. It's a lot harder, I will say that. It's not as beginner friendly, but the bosses generally, in my opinion, there are higher highs in Dark Souls 3, and sometimes some lower lows. I mean, some of the bosses are really bad, well, not really bad, but they're just not that good. But other times, and most of the time, the bosses are probably the standout in this game. If not, the music. The music in this game is really good. Like, it probably has the best soundtrack in any game. So, if you're like, kind of like, oh, the gameplay looks fine, the bosses look fine, play the game for the music, because that is probably the best part. Oh, and there's DLCs as well. They're quite short, but they're definitely worth playing. The next game that I'll recommend is Lies of P. Now, I haven't played many Souls-likes. I mean, technically Elden Ring's a Souls-like. I played Lords of the Fallen, which, by the way, don't play Lords of the Fallen, because that is a bad game. But out of those, Lies of P is definitely the best Souls-like I've played. Its combat is very good. It is hard, okay? It's a hard game. Bit like Black Myth Wukong. They're both hard games. There was one boss that I won't spoil, but I was stuck on him for a long time, and I was ready to give up on the game. I would say there was about 4 bosses in total that I was stuck on for quite a long time, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's quite a few. But don't let that kind of stop you from playing the game. Don't think that it's like super hard. It can be super hard, but don't let that stop you from playing the game, because it is great. The combat is great. You can make your own weapons by combining like a blade with a handle. And depending on what handle you use, it changes how you attack. So there's one boss which was like an electric boss where I used an electric blade with a specific handle because I liked the attack style that the handle gave you, and it actually helped me defeat the boss. So you should definitely try out this game. It's very good. The next game I'm recommending is Black Myth Wukong. Now, this game is very hard, a bit like Lies of P. I'd actually say it's sometimes harder than Lies of P, however, sometimes it can be easier. I nearly gave up on the second or third boss, not sure which one, but I nearly gave up. And I eventually gave up on the final boss because it was just way too hard. But don't make that stop you from playing the game because it's very good. The combat is great and you get various different powers to use, and there's a skill tree to upgrade. So if you don't mind playing a game that's a little bit hard, well, not a little bit hard, very hard, then, but it's really good with like combat, stuff like that, play this game, it's great. The next game I'm recommending is Tunic. I've seen a lot of like comparisons with this game to Dark Souls 1. I've never played that game, so I have no clue about that, but I thought the game was pretty good. I wasn't too sure at first because of the art style. I didn't really know whether it's going to be actually that good or not. But I ended up playing the game just because I had like nothing else to play at the time. And just saying, you're gonna get lost in this game. Like if you don't like getting lost in games and not having a clue what you're meant to be doing, then don't play this game. Like I feel like for most of the game, I relied on like YouTube videos and stuff like that just to get me through the game because I had no freaking clue where I was meant to be going. But the combat is alright. Some of the bosses are quite good, even though they can be pretty tricky. But the whole kind of point of this game is like the manual. You get a manual and you can collect pages of the manual. However, it's all in this fictional language, so you can't understand it. So there's a certain element of like figuring out what the manual means, what it's trying to tell you. If you can do that, which I couldn't, but if you can do that, then I'm sure it's pretty rewarding figuring out what it all means. And it'll end up being pretty useful to you. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, then you should play this game. My next recommendation is Shadow of the Colossus. Shadow of the Colossus is all about the boss fights. Like, there's a world to explore, but there's not really much in it. It's all about the boss fights, and they are great. Okay, pretty much every single Colossus feels unique, and there's a different thing that you have to do for each of them. But usually it's find weak spot, climb up to it, and destroy it. And once you destroy all of them, you defeat the Colossus. But there's quite a lot of them to go through. The game is pretty short. It won't take you too long, but it's just great. If you're looking for a game with just great boss fights, then you should definitely play this because this game's main focus is the boss fights. However, the final boss is shit, just saying. Um, I didn't think I would defeat it. It is very hard, so, just saying. I'm not going to spend too long on this recommendation because I've already recommended this game before. Wow, I've done a review on it on this channel. And the game is Skyrim. Skyrim is a game that never really gets old. I wasn't sure if this is going to be bad because it's a very old game. But surprisingly, it is great. It definitely deserves the Game of the Year award that it got. If you want a more like in-depth review, go and watch my other video. But just to cut it short, I would definitely recommend Skyrim. You should play this if you like open world games. Monster Hunter World is actually the newest release on this list. Now, I played Monster Hunter World, I think it was Monster Hunter World, and I didn't really like it. I found it kind of boring. Monster Hunter World, it is similar. I mean, obviously it's going to be similar because it's a Monster Hunter game still. But I just feel like it's more fun. It can get a little bit repetitive because the gameplay loop is kind of just get monster to hunt, get equipment, hunt monster, get new monster, repeat. But the gameplay is good enough for it to stay fun, and sometimes you have to go off and hunt other monsters or monsters that you've already hunted just to get equipment to get better stuff. If you're looking for, well, it's kind of like, it's mostly sort of like a boss fight focused game. I guess you could say that each monster is a boss fight. So in that case, yeah, it is focused on the boss fights, which are, I mean, if you look at them, they're alright. Some of them really aren't that good. It's just like they occasionally attack you, but the rest of the time, they're kind of just standing there doing nothing. But apart from that, if you think that this would be fun, then you should play this game. I think it's fun. I've been playing it and I'm still going to play it because I think it's good. So I think you might enjoy it. I hope you found this video helpful. I hope you found at least one new game to play that you hadn't heard of before. If it was helpful, please subscribe to the channel, it helps a lot. And thanks for watching.